A woman in Chuka, Tharaka Nithi, is making affordable, reusable cloth pads.
Lakini kwa si Kelly kama anavyojulikana na wengi,
we are targeting a child at a time.
Deep in the dry lands of Tharaka Nithi County lies a generation with a hunger for food, education, good health, and security. For years now, this generation has been defiled.
Defilement is the act of, or rather having sexual intercourse with a minor, whether a boy or a girl below 18 years.
Can it be the father or another distant person like a neighbor, and who they are not related? Whoever person who does this, the case is defilement.
They have been raised differently.
Saloni ndatigero emunini negina ena mieri kenda.
Poverty has elevated their problems.
Demurinju. Mwanene amuja kweli ndakamenu mbetuku mojionu. Mukolo amwirai. Nembeteku magikona ndakamenu gitikale maugane bia kulakwa. Mwanene auga yochiana nichia mwene. Mwanene nengero chiana chia. Eba unipoda kwatile mangana.
To them, home no longer feels like home.
Kwa muntu ungi wale aende bachaga muthakoju atumite mathie nauma mare anange ni muthakoju amakujia mathie kwawe na riu ni nabwathiire kumanangira na ekyo arimo maumire auma mona twana tu kurundu twituruthe riu mathie guchungucha wega nire ambatirwe inire abira kwa kuu kwa polisi.
Brought up by guardians who had no power to protect and provide for them, they became the toys of every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Sikeli. She is into a journey of saving this generation from the vices being done to them. She understood the problem of this generation, which has been on the rise every day.
My maternal grandmother had 12 children, biological, and there's no single day she served less than 20 plates. That tells you it comes from way back. I have always had a passion of making sure that everyone that's around me, especially children or especially someone who does not have a voice, feel comfortable around the situation. I started off with the children some time back, and officially it must be around 4 or 5 years ago. And how it started is I really needed to speak to young girls and boys about dangers that comes in when they engage in sex at their age.
She travels a lonely journey and walks into the wild areas hopeful to save a life. The children love her.
And I started off by going to schools. I honestly didn't see what I'm doing now at that point, because for me, in my thinking, I wanted to just speak to children on why they should not engage in early sex. I got my child when I was a pretty young girl, not as young as high school, but I was still young. And I remember the issues that came with it, the challenges that came with it, the lack of financial support, and even being not emotionally able to take care of the child. And it occurred to me that if I was at that age, because I just had finished, it was not so far into, I just finished high school, in college, I think. And I can imagine if it was so hard for me at that point, how hard it would be for a girl in high school, for a girl in primary school to get pregnant. And so I started school tours back in 2017. And I would speak to children, and I still do, talk to them about dangers of engaging in early sex, what to do in case of defilement. After a long time of being able to go to so many schools, the community got to know what I do and the passion I had for children. And so I started getting calls and, from my social media platforms. People started telling me of a child who has been suffering under defilement, an orphan somewhere who's been serially abused. And I would go, and I still go, to where they are, to be able to access the situation. And in some situations, you would find terrible, terrible situations whereby a child has just been left to be. A child has just been left probably with an extremely old grandparent, or at one point when I was able to get, one of my boys was left with a grandmother who had dementia and could not even understand or even remember this boy's name. And this is a person who's supposed to be taking care of this boy. And with time, now such situations, the situations, I would go to the villages, and there's no way I was leaving a child in that situation because it was just too bad.
What happens when she becomes aware of a case?
I would take the children from the situation, go to the police station, report I have the child, go to the children office, report that I have the child, and make sure within the village or within the vicinity, someone responsible knew that I carried the child, so that it does not now come out as a missing child. And I would tell the police or the children office where exactly I am, just in case anybody follows up on the children. And that is how I ended up being a mother of very many children.
Those people don't know the procedure of reporting these things. Sometimes they just keep quiet in the village. They involve the chiefs and the other people, or even they may fail to involve the chiefs, but they decide to organize a local committee of a few family members to negotiate about the issue. But the downside of it, the damage is already done, and whenever they talk, the fact is the rights of that child will still have been violated.
The reason why we insist on the survivor coming within 72 hours is because some medication may not work for them. Like for the HIV will not work, the post-exposure prophylaxis will not work after the 72 hours because of the window period for the HIV virus. Same case to the pregnancy. You're supposed to give the emergency pill within 72 hours of the act.
Each rescue has always been a grief-stricken activity with rising concern of the place of government in such vices.
In the Kenyan Constitution, Chapter 4, it talks about the Bill of Rights, Children rights are a major part of our job, that we have to ensure that all the children in this county, and specifically in Chuka Division, are given all the rights they deserve.
Taking a child from the situation of defilement is usually not the problem. Saving the child, adopting the child, providing for them, and giving them a future become the new problems.
Mimi mtoto mdogo napenda kusoma. Nikienda shuleni karo hakuna. Nikirudi nyumbani ninakuta baba yangu amelewa. Mama ana pesa, je, nitasoma aje?
It is a journey that calls for different persons to save the child. And first, C. Kelly understands that she has to inform the security department about it.
In all the cases, a child's best interest is what is followed in any case.
Most adults, unfortunately, again, don't have any idea, because the children would tell me, and I would be like, did you tell anybody this happened? And they would say, yeah, I told probably my mom, and maybe I told my auntie, and they said, those are not things to go talking about. Or they said, now what do we do? So they made the child stay in a place where abuse was happening, because they also didn't know what to do.
Any person who finds a child, either is a neighbor, or a child of a relative, or is a child in the same family that you are in, who is being molested, denied food, given extra work, this work that is not to be done by a person of a certain age. For example, you not expect a child to be employed in a hotel, or a car wash, or any either formal or informal employment before the age of 18. So what you do when you realize there's a child who is undergoing such strain in her life, in his or her life, you ensure that one, you report to the chief's office or the police department. There's a gender desk in that office where you can report your matter, so that we can immediately start investigation and a way of helping the child out.
Thereafter is to deal with the medical side.
So first when they come to your facility, they're supposed to first register, to go to the registration desk whereby their details are taken and they are offered an express card. They are usually mostly accompanied by a police officer who comes with them to stay there like to guide them on what to do. So when they come to your room as a clinician, you're supposed to take a very detailed history. Remember, this is a medical legal document, so you're supposed to be very thorough on your work.
And the person who receives the child, there's a procedure on how it should go. But the person says to the child, you know what, you're not really hurt, you can go home. Without covering this child, the doctor explained about all these things that the child should be able to get, from the PEP and to the emergency contraceptives and the antibiotics. So we walk in and make sure that the child has been able to access all that medicine.
A child is defined as any human being that is under the age of 18 years. And child abuse is defined under the Children's Act number 8 of 2001 as any form of physical, sexual, psychological, or mental injury that is meted out on a child. So child abuse takes many forms, and there are rights of children that are provided for under the Kenyan law. These rights are mainly captured under Article 53 of our 2010 Constitution, which provide for a broad array of rights. You find that for you to prove the offense of defilement, there must be compelling evidence, and in most cases, when these minors are defiled, they are not aware of what they are supposed to do, and as such, most of the evidence is lost within those circumstances. Like say, if a minor is defiled, she's supposed to report to the police within 72 hours. But you find unless a minor is advised of the same by an adult, then she's not aware of what to do. And in most cases, you find that these cases are reported a week or weeks later, when even getting medical evidence on such offenses is quite difficult.
After I made sure that the procedure is done, now I would come home with a child. There's no day I picked two children. So they were different. They are different children from different places. And what I'll do is, now when they come home, I would engage a child counselor and just allow the child to be, because this is a child that has gone through so much trauma. They are not sure, and they're not 100% why you're picking them and why you are with them. They still have trust issues, and especially with grown people, now that they're being defiled, of course, by grown-ups. And you'd give them time to just be.
Normally, a defiled child always goes through mood swings. 1 minute they are very happy, the next one they are withdrawn, and then they lack social life. They don't want to go out and play anymore. They go through phases of anhedonia. Maybe they loved playing football, and all of a sudden they don't want to anymore.
When children get abused, they change in behavior, and they behave in a strange manner. So even in school, when they get to school, these are children who are naive, they are isolated, they like to live alone or stay alone, and we find that even their performance gets affected. Such children, like when we talk about social abuse, we find that they are not able to cope with their friends. They are afraid. They get afraid of mixing up with their friends, because they are not trusting anyone, because this trust was not built when they were young, from the home where they were raised. So they are not able to trust anyone.
The children, sometimes they are very emotional. You find that when they are wronged by the teacher or the pupils, other pupils now, they become very, very emotional. So we try to be cautious with them. While teaching, while outside, the way even when we are punishing them, let's say they are punishing them, we try to be fair to them, so that not to revive their memories of what they passed through.
Some of these children never get justice in the courts. A few, through Sikeli's help, have, however, been able to get justice.
Tutamenya no wamugwatire na ndamuriria mbira wona atamumenya ne kalire akigya na kana kae nakongiendelea nako adiga miaka ile mujie ne ambelia we kadi wira ne adile wira wa nyomba wa mtu ne andikirwe Yacokaga akona na mama au gwitwa Kelly atuanjambira ni akwenda gucoka cukuru. Ndamwira Kelly okenda gucoka cukuru ni sawa. Saloni nibonania na Kelly aukoa bakiendereithia na maundu mao na akiri cukuru urambinga osi
uthomithie nkata utina wagagu ugaia ngangagitangwa kana ngeka apana yanditango gutio no ntona ngina arambirire nkata nekare ku athome.
Since Sikeli has no rescue center yet, she takes the kids to her own home, where they live together as a big family.
The big challenge I'm facing here as a children officer, there are several challenges. One being this need, this actually need for a rescue center in this area. Not just area, but in this Tharaka Nithi. The reason why I'm saying all this is that maybe a time like now, I may brought here a 2 days or 3 days old child who has been abandoned by the mother. Now, thinking a place to take that child is a problem. And having a rescue center in this county may ease doing my work, because instead of calling people from Meru or from another county to come and pick this innocent young child who has been abandoned by the mother at a place where it's even dangerous, can even be harmed by something else, is a challenge.
My biggest fear is that my children would not get education. That's one of my biggest fear, because that's the only thing, as I said, that is a sure bet that if they have good education, their life is protected and their life is secure. The other thing is, of course, lack of food, and that's one of my greatest fears as well. I would never want to imagine a child that I take care of going hungry. That would be the day, I don't know, I will just want to disappear from the face of the earth. I believe that one day, and very soon, I will be able to have a rescue center where we will have many children, vulnerable children, that will be able to access education, that will be able to access basic needs, that will be able to have a safe home to grow in, free from abuse, free from pain, free from struggle. One day I'll be able to stand and watch children just grow to be the people that God created them to be. One day soon, I believe and I know I'll be able to walk in the gates of Enlightened Generation Rescue Center.
Education, education, education. Education is a key to success. Without education, we'll be a thief, a murderer, or a teacher. Can you imagine? So teacher, parents, we let our support education. Really.